What is up, everyone? Gamer here, and today we will be reviewing another Speed Duels game. This is from the Speed Duel Monday Madness tournament hosted by Delicates, and I believe this was from round one. We have Mendelssohn 2004 playing a pretty unique Dark Fusion, even Evil Hero deck for the current meta, versus Hopeful Enthusiast, who for the past few weeks has been on their Insect Slifer deck. And this was a very interesting game. Let's go ahead and take a look. So we will see Mendelssohn go first after the rock, paper, scissors. And let's take a look at the opening hands. So for Hopeful Enthusiast, we have the Wormbait, we have the Holing Insect, we have Chainsaw Insect, and we have Beatron. The idea is to establish 3 tributes using this insect package and then summon Slifer. And then for Mendelssohn, we have the Miracle Fusion, the Dark Calling, the Versago, which can basically be any name for a fusion summon, and the Elemental Hero Sparkman. So let's see how the game begins. Just going to straight up pass on the side of Mendelssohn, and the Hopeful Enthusiast will set the Quaking, which was drawn off the top, and summon the Chainsaw. In battle phase, we'll attempt to hit in for 24, which will go through, giving Mendelssohn an extra draw, and presumably here we will see a full combo take place. Rhoda is going to be adding another Sparkman to hand, so we have possible 2 ways to summon. Evil Hero. Let's see, Dark Fusion also being added from the skill. After discarding a Versago, we'll see Dark Fusion take place, and we will see the Evil Hero Lightning Golem come in. Once per turn, it can target and pop 1 monster on the field. So let's take a look. Presumably the Chainsaw will be targeted here. And we will see the normal summon of the Sparkman. There is also a Dark Calling, but of course Mendelssohn doesn't overextend because they know that they have presumable game on board if there's no response from that back row based on the information. So Dark Calling can be kept later on, same thing with Miracle Fusion. So they attempt to hit in, and we will likely see Hopeful Enthusiast, responding with the Quaking Mirror Force, stopping any pressure there. See the players chatting a bit, and we will set the enemy controller drawn off the top and summon Beatron here. Beatron, a very interesting card. It lets you send 1 face-up, spell or trap, and then target 1 level 4 or lower insect in the graveyard to special summon it. However, looks like there's no continuous spells or traps right now available for Hopeful Enthusiast, so they will have to settle for the 1600 body here. Let's see if they attempt to beat over anything in the battle phase. They will try to get rid of the Lightning Golem, and it will be destroyed. So we see Elemental Hero Clayman off the top for Mendelssohn, who we assume will try to mount some comeback using these fusion spells this turn. We'll see the Miracle Fusion, banishing the Sparkman, and a name of choice to summon, Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman. So this card gains 300 attack for each Elemental Hero in the graveyard, and if it destroys a monster by battle and successfully sends it to the graveyard, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack, which is determined from the graveyard. Alright, let's take a look. Will there be another follow-up play? Nope. Mendelssohn will simply attempt to hit in with the Shining Flare Wingman. However, the enemy controller will be activated, and we'll switch that to defense. Alright, and we see a Sphere Karibo for Hopeful Enthusiast. There is an opportunity here with a monster surviving and the Wormbait to go for a Slifer play, and looks like Hopeful Enthusiast will indeed jump straight to it. So using the skill, which lets you discard to add, they will be able to add Slifer to their hand. So let's see if this is enough to win the game. Do they have any other follow-up plays after destroying the Elemental Hero here? They do get to draw to 6. Both players can attempt to do that. And will there be game drawn? Let's take a look. So Hopeful Enthusiast draws to Econ, Kunai, Parasite, Medora, Beatron, and Sphere Karibo. However, they have used their Tribute Summon for the Slifer, so they cannot summon any additional monsters. And it looks like perhaps the enemy controller will just not be enough. It's not like they can steal something. However, they could actually on damage. Yeah, so on battle step, excuse me, activate it to switch Elemental Hero Shining Flare Wingman to attack, and then just hit in with the Slifer. So that's a very promising play. I believe that should also just be game then for Hopeful Enthusiast. Let's see how it goes. Oh, but instead they are going to be setting the enemy controller, and since it's a quick spell, you cannot activate it the turn you set it. And by setting the extra kunai with chain, even if they could activate enemy controller, it's not enough to beat over the Shining Flare Wingman if you were able to switch it to attack. I believe missed game here by Hopeful Enthusiast, but let's see if that comes back to bite them. Because now Mendelsohn has a full hand, multiple Wabokus to keep surviving, and we see breakers to potentially deal with the back row. And now the Dark Calling will finally be activated. I think it's interesting to not try to blind pop something here, but maybe they're scared. Yeah, and we will see playing pretty defensively. Evil Hero Lightning Golem will be summoned in special summoned in defense. It should lose a bunch of stats. Oh, it's only if you summon in attack position. Excuse me. So Slifer's effect only applies to attack position summons, so this way the Lightning Golem is safe. The Lightning Golem will go ahead and pop in the Slifer. Oh, and excuse me, that's why you can't summon Breaker here. I think that's a misplay on my end. Okay, pop the Slifer, then summon Breaker. And we see some chatting. And the random pop will be Kunai. Kunai cannot be chained here. It is only when an opponent's monster declares an attack. So it should not be chainable on this Breaker here. Just a small misplay. I don't think either player catches it. That's perfectly okay. Happens. There's a game pause. Just AFK. And we'll see Waboku being activated to help Mendelsohn not lose the game here. What were some alternatives? We have an enemy controller in the back. Still not enough, I think, to just facilitate much this turn. I think the previous turn was Hopeful Enthusiast's chance to actually contest for game. Nevertheless, the game continues. Waboku keeps the monsters alive. We will see an attempt for game by Mendelsohn here. Okay, so the Econ will be chained. However, we should be able to still switch Breaker to attack. They don't know about the Sphere Karibo in hand and everything, but in our perspective, Mendelsohn will attempt to take a game here, and we will see the Parasite being chained. You can target one face up on the field, you equip the target to that monster, and it becomes an insect monster, cannot attack insect monsters, and its effects that activate by targeting an insect monster are negated. So, this will in turn negate the effect to target and destroy Vitron. Alright. Presumably we'll move on to battle phase. There will be an attempt to crash here, but that will get Sphere Karibo'd, and Mendelsohn will pass it over. And we see very interestingly the Mirage of Nightmares being drawn by and played by Hopeful Enthusiast. And Medora Normal Summon, presumably attempting to beat in here. However, there is another Waboku in the back by Mendelsohn, which should protect their board. And no further plays here from Hopeful Enthusiast. And let's see, does the draw... There's no more Sphere Karibos drawn. However, we do have a Parasite Paranoid once again. Medora chained to the attempt to pop it, adding back Slifer, Econ, and Econ. Okay, the deck is shuffled, and we attempt to hit it once again. The other Breaker attempting to crash will get Parasite Paranoided. So the final Breaker attempts to crash, and then we have the Evil Hero hidden, but the Lightning Golem attack is not enough for game yet. 3 draws, so there's going to be 3 pops during standby. Can discard random. Alright, randomly sent to graveyard. And there will just be a pass. I do believe these Parasite Paranoids technically should go to grave. Let's read the effect here. Oh no, sorry, they're on the 2 monsters that are still alive. My bad. The Breaker that went to grave was not the one under Parasite. Okay. So we'll see the draw here. However, there's no more hand traps, and this should just be game for Mendelsohn. So sadly, the missed game from Hopeful Enthusiast did come to bite them back here. They will just show their hand. All right. And let's move on to game number 2. Mendelsohn once again being forced to go first. Let's see the opening hands here. So for Hopeful Enthusiast trying to mount this comeback, we have Howling Insect, Slifer the Sky Dragon, Emergency Provisions, and Double Cyclone, card we didn't see in the first game. And then we have Dark Calling, Breaker, Elemental Hero Clayman, and Waboku. And notably, in case you do draw Slifer, Sky God Revelation does allow you to reveal it, place it on the bottom of the deck, and then draw 1, so you can replace the Slifer with any card from your deck. And of course you do have the once per duel discard to add it back. So it's possible to move this card in and out of your hand as needed for the gameplay. So let's take a look at what Hopeful Enthusiast does. It is just going to be setting the Waboku and passing from Mendelsohn, clearly going for a more OTK perspective. And we have here Spike Shield with Chain, which lets you target one face-up monster, equip this card, giving the monster 500 attack, and if the equipped monster battles while in defense position, it gains defense equal to its attack during damage calc. Very interesting trap card selection here. Let's see how that will be used in the context of insects. So Slifer is revealed, draws into Howling Insect, set 3, summon Howling Insect, and attempt to hit in. I assume Mendelsohn will just take the damage. Alright, so let's see, Mendelsohn draws the Versago, so that is any name for the fusion. Normal summon the Breaker. Is there a response? The Breaker will pop, Double Cyclone is chained with Emergency Provisions. Seems like Hopeful Enthusiast wanted to activate it there, and Waboku will be chained. Yes, it's possible to chain here. And then we will see the Dark Calling being activated by Mendelsohn, or not. I don't believe they could actually, because you need to banish from... Oh no, you can banish from your hand or graveyard. So presumably there's nothing that can be summoned with these two cards. With Dark Fusion, nevertheless. They're going to attempt to hit in with Breaker, and the insect will choose to summon another card. So we will see a pretty interesting card. I've seen this card come up in the weeklies with Hopeful Enthusiast deck. The Reversible Beetle. So when this card is normal or special, it changes this card and any monster in its column to face down defense. And when this card is flipped, you can shuffle this card and any face-up monster in its column into the deck, which is an optional effect. So let's take a look. So the summon effect is mandatory, so we'll see the Breaker being set here. And we'll see the flip summon. However, because Breaker was just set, the flip summon shouldn't actually do anything here. And I think the players realize that just shuffles back the Beetle. However, the flip summon is also optional. Is it? No, it is actually mandatory. Shuffle this card, not you can. Well, that is very unfortunate flip summon there by the Beetle. So sadly, that will actually be forced back into the deck, and a small misplay by Hopeful Enthusiast. Let's see how much that ends up costing for them. Alright, we see Anti-Magic Arrows drawn here by Mendelsohn, and we will straight up activate the Dark Calling this time, so there was a target. Oh, it is Clayman and Sparkling for the Lightning Golem. Okay, makes a lot of sense. The Lightning Golem will attempt to pop, and this last back row is the Spike Shield with Chain, which won't be doing much. There is an attempt to use Anti-Magic Arrows here, even though Mendelsohn doesn't know. This isn't currently stopping anything. I'm surprised they use it here and not for game, but I think they also want to keep their Lightning Golem alive to pop anything that might come next turn, and a Quaking could potentially be very troublesome for them. Alright, we see here Versago being drawn off the top. Versago will not be summoned, Mendelsohn presumably choosing to keep it to make potential plays or even future discard fodder for the skill. A lot of potential choices here. We see the Sphere Karibo switching Lightning Golem to defense. Another Sphere Kuriboh drawn, so the players looks like they will be passing back and forth. Waboku will notably not be set. I wonder if there's an extra way outside of Wormbait to get a third monster out for Hopeful Enthusiast without having to use their normal summon, so they can summon Slifer here, but I'm not sure what the deck has outside of what has already been shown. We'll see yet another Sphere Kuriboh. Setting this to defense here. And we will see the Mirage of Nightmare being activated. I think at this point it's a reasonable question, because we've seen 2 Sphere Kuribohs already go through, which means there's a high chance you don't roll into another one with the Mirage. There's also the potential for Parasites, of course, but I wonder if it's a reasonable call here to use the Wormbait just to create 2 tokens. Of course, the Lightning Golem will be able to pop one of them, and Hopeful Enthusiast isn't aware, but there is a second normal summon in the back, so it shouldn't make a difference, but nevertheless, I think it is a play worth considering. Instead, Hopeful Enthusiast will pass over, perhaps thinking that it's very likely there is another normal summon in hand, and will opt to draw into whatever Mirage gives them, and sadly, it looks like that just isn't enough, and we will very likely be going on to game. And Hopeful Enthusiast admits defeat, and Mendelsohn takes the win. A very interesting build of the Evil Hero Lightning Golem deck. Yeah, very exciting to see some creative deck building in this tournament. I think everyone who played today brought some very unique decks. It was overall very fun and casual experience. And yeah, I encourage you all to join Mondays. The time zone, if you join the SDL League, I'll try to link the Speed Duel League in the description. If you join the Speed Duel League, the announcements are always posted and automatically converted to your local time zone. So I encourage you to join these tournaments every Monday, hosted by Delicates. And thank you all for watching. I hope you have a good one, and keep playing Speed Duels.